Well, it's Friday, and you all know what that means. That means AEW Rampage, as you know, have their final go home show before All In all the way to Wembley Stadium. But also, who's gonna level up on this latest episode of NXT Level Up? We're gonna find out. But first things first, we're going to be also reviewing some recent shows by Stardom. The first one's gonna be, of course, New Blood 10. So we got to have some interesting matches. We got a passion injection match. We got a Kozen assessment, and of course, Waka Tsukiyama gets another shot of the future belt. But there's the possibility this could be her last chance since her 3 year of experience is almost up. Can she pull it off? Or once again, Rina will be reigning supreme as the future champion. And then, of course, we move on to day 10 of the 5-star Grand Prix. We only have two matches involving in the Red Star block. Hazuki, as you know, was winless, but can she pull off a win against Ami Suri? And then, of course, we got the two leaders from two different units. We got Natsuko Tora, the leader of course, of Oedo Tai. Apparently, she is currently somewhat undefeated or so. I don't know. But of course, she faces against the Icon, someone who she has tormented in the past. The obvious thing is, can she pull it off as well? Or, once again, the Icon Racing Supreme as well. And of course, to cap it up, we have some news updates to tell what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling. To give you guys some good news, we have some new champions from two different promotions, and I'll be getting to that at the end of this. And of course, an interesting thing that was set upon by none other than AEW president and, of course, president and founder Tony Khan. So, let's get ready for another episode of the Leaded Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to the Lead It Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, Gerard here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. If you guys like this channel where we review a lot of content of pro wrestling, this is the channel just for you. And of course, we'll be doing a lot of daily reviews on various promotions. And also, if you like this episode, give us a nice like or a comment down below. So, let's get started with our very first review, and that is, of course, Stardom's New Blood 10. Now, our opening match, we have Honoka, Kizuna Tanaka, and Hanako. Now, those who don't know, Honoka and Kizuna Tanaka are originally from the promotion Just Wave. Recently, these are two of the young girls who were in fact invited by Starlight Kid not too long ago when, of course, Stardom and Pro Wrestling Wave did a little something special for Himeka a couple of months ago. But they team up with, of course, Stardom's very own new girl, Hanako. So this is going to be an interesting matchup. However, their opponents is none other than Miran from Diana, and of course her. We have Nanami, who also is from Diana, but also a member of God's Eye, who we haven't seen for quite some time. She teams up with Ami Sori. I thought this match was going to be interesting. Now, um, the X factor of this match, there's a lot of things. You have the other team, the Honoka, Kizuna, and of course Hanako. They're currently the new girls. They're basically barely starting out. But the only X factor here is, of course, we got Naname and Amisori, the only two people with a bit more experience than the others. However, Miran is also one of those inexperienced wrestlers, but at the same time, she is the youngest of out of all of them. But I have to say, Miran does have a fighting spirit. But unfortunately, she didn't. Her fighting spirit was not enough against Hanako when she pulled off the Argentine backbreaker, causing her to tap out, giving Hanako the win for her team. Now, our next match, also coming from Pro Wrestling Wave, we have Kohaku taking on Lady C. Now, this is the battle of two different strengths, of course. Lady C, who's been dubbed as the Human Tower, you probably would have assumed that her strength, due to being taller, would have been the X factor to pick the match. But however, I look at Kohaku a little bit more like Saya Ida and Layla Hirsch from looking at her. But it was, of course, Kohaku who actually pulled off a European clutch to pick up the win. So I was impressed by her. So you guys should pay attention to her as well. Next match, we have Mei Sita and Suzuki taking on the sisters Hina and Hanan. Now, as you know, this is not the first time that these two has teamed up. Hina and Hanan, they've always been so close, even though they're from two different units. But this fight, they can't stand their sister Reno being a little spoiled little brat, if you guys know what I mean. But of course, you probably would have thought in your minds that this match was going to fall in favor with Mei Sita and Suzuki, because of course they're all younger wrestlers here. But however, it was in fact Mei Sita with the Liger bomb on Hina to pick up the win. It was very impressive by her, so I have to say it's very cool. Now, our next match is a Kozen assessment match between Natsupoi and Yuna Mizumori. Now, those who don't know what this Kozen assessment is, let me explain. Yuna Mizumori first arrived when she teamed up with Nanane Takahashi Inu, part of the Neo Stardom Army. A couple of months ago, she made the decision that she wanted to quit her position with them and join Cosmic Angels. Now, many of us for months have always suspected that she would have been better off with them because she has almost the same kind of traits. You know, she likes to dance and all this. We know she has teamed up with former members of Cosmic Angels in the past, such as Waka and, of course, Mina in the past. But since those two are gone, Yuna's been making her play to join the Cosmic Angels. But Waka seems like she didn't like the idea of her joining because they known each other prior ever joining Stardom. So the obvious thing is, when she joined, she had to do one thing, and that is, of course, lose weight. So she had to lose maybe 10 kilograms or so. But however, there are many times she keeps messing up. But she had to go against a match against Natsupoi. And I have to say, Yuna really had a big fighting spirit. I mean, she really was impressive. But however, she felt that she was weak because she lost. But however, I don't think that was the case. I think the case was that she did not make the mark in her weight class that they were aiming for. But however, Tam Nakano, as you know, decided to give her one last chance on the next New Blood show. But this time is going to be against her. So Yuna knows what's at stake here, knows that she has to face against the leader. So she's going to try to do her best. So we'll see. Now, our next match, this is more of one of those Supernova Series matches. Saru Onoi and Miyu Umesaki. Now, these two girls are from the same region in Japan. Basically, it's rather interesting that happened. But of course, Saru Onoi, who has more of the experience than her, was going to win this one when she applied the Temps Tendre on her to pick up the win. And of course, she said that she sensed the fighting spirit from the region where they're from. So she said that we'll see each other another time. So it's most likely we could see them again. Now, our next match is the Passion Injection match between Nanane Takahashi and Saya Ida. But I have to say, what a great match, because Saya Ida seems like she was the fan favorite to win this one. Now, Nanane Takahashi, who's been a veteran in the Joshi world, you probably would have assumed that this would have been just a little bit similar to losing to Waka, but however, that wasn't the case. It was, of course, the Nana Rocker that put away Saya Ida and Nana Takahashi to win. However, of course, Saya Ida was grateful for this match and all this. But and this. However, as soon as she left, apparently Nana Takahashi ran into a familiar face, Mei Sita. Now, those who don't know, no, Mei Sita is not the new girl in Stardom. She has been in Stardom before, but recently she's been doing freelancing outside of Stardom in other locations. However, the reasons she wanted to do this, at first, Nanane thought that she was that accused Mei Sita of being afraid of her or Oda type, but that wasn't the case. So she wanted this match with her for the passion injection. The reasons because, as you know, of late, she has been ignored by Saki Kashima, not to not giving her the opportunity for the high speed belt, even though Mesa confessed to Nanane that she is a high speed, but however she wants to enjoy more wrestling. But of course, Nanane told her that she's going to rip the pieces. So basically, she knows what she get herself to. So Maysita said that she would definitely talk to Rossi Ogawa and probably the top officials, see what they think. So we'll see when that happens. I wouldn't be surprised if that match happens in the next New Blood show. So we'll see. Now our main event is the Future of Stardom Championship. Rina defends her I think it's her first or second defense. I think her second defense, taking on Waka. Now we know Waka has desired to win this belt, but many of us have often talked about, even on social media, where Waka's time in her 3 year of experience could be up, and there was no way in hell that they were going to just give her the belt, because normally the belt is given to those who are below the 20 years age mark, or the 3 years of experience. Rina, who's been one of those wrestlers in the below 20 mark, fit the perfect role. You know, we know Waka has challenged this belt before against Hanam, but however was unsuccessful. And I think it was with Ami Soria as well. I'm not 100% sure, but Rina, as you guys know, always criticize those who are older than her, who have the 3 year of experience. For example, she believes that this belt is meant for younger generation, not the old hags who have less of experience in wrestlers. But Reno decided to prove that she is the main character of the show, and that's exactly of New Blood. That's always been what she is. But it was, of course, the Hydra range that put away Waka to pick up the win. So, but we'll see who will be the next challenger. I wouldn't be surprised if someone else would challenge for the belt. And I think that's pretty much it what we have for New Blood 10 for Stardom. Let's move on with the next of the 5-star Grand Prix. Okay, we continue with more of Stardom, but this time we have the day 10 of the 5-star Grand Prix. This just recently took place on the 20th of August, and this was in the city, in the place called Numazu. I think that's what's pronounced. So anyway, let's start with the non 5-star Grand Prix matches. First one, we have Queen's Quest members Miyu Amasaki and Utami Ishida taking on Hanako and Saki Kashima. So this is the first time Saki Kashima teams up with someone outside of God's Eye. Normally she would team up with either with Mirai or Utami, however it rolls. But of course, the X Factor was going to be Hanako, since she is the least experienced wrestler, was going to play out. It was, of course, what's her name, Utami, with the win when she applied the Komoritsuru Otoshi move on her to pick up the win. So that's how it played out on that one. Next match, we have, of course, Oedo Time members Rina, Ruka, and Starlight Kid taking on Stars, Saida, Hanan, and Koguma. Now, of course, like always, we always seen the bit of the Sibra rivaling in this match with Rina and Hanan. Don't forget, Hanan has been the future champion, and she's currently with the most defense record in the future belt. But however, as you know, Hanan has always been one of those wrestlers that many people say she could be the next ace of Stardom. She did apply that when she defeated her own sister when she applied the 17, and that was it. So Basically, Rina cannot believe it. I think Rina feels a bit of more like it should have been her since she is the main character, but not in this case since the main character, she says she's from New Blood. But yeah. Next up, we have Club Venus consistent of Waka and Mariah May taking on Yuna Mizumori and Natsupoi. Now, don't forget, Natsupoi and Sarunoi of the Cosmic Angels defeated Rose Gold, consistent of Mina and Mariah May. I'm sure Mariah May hasn't forgotten, but I'm sure she got a somewhat of measure of revenge to Natsupoi until she applied the tombstone onto Yuna Mizumori to pick up the win. So I'm sure that hasn't happened, but if you guys remember clearly, Mariah May feels like they want to chase the trios, the artist belts, and hopefully maybe have Waka get her first championship reign. Now, our next match, we have Queen's Quest, consistent of Hina, Lady C, and Azumi, taking on May Sita, Mega Bane, and Tekla. So this is going to be interesting because I want to see exactly what Lady C and Mega Bane are, because they are tall as hell. And of course, it would have been falling into Mega Bane's hand when she applied the F5 onto Lady C to pick up the win. So that kind of made it more clear to everybody. So now let's move on with the matches. This is from the Red Stars block, 2 matches only in the 5-star Grand Prix. Our first match, Amisuri representing God's Eye taking on Stars' Azuki. Now, keep in mind, since the beginning of the tournament, Azuki has been winless. She had no matches win. Now, if you guys compare her this year's 5-star Grand Prix with her from last year, she was started out a great way with an undefeated streak until Kamitani was the one who uh, made her become defeated, and that's kind of strange. But the obvious thing is, Azuki has faced Amisuri before, but in tag team setting. But this is a different feeling now, where she's facing her one on one. If you guys don't remember, Amisuri and Mirai had challenged Azuki and Koguma for the tag titles, but they were unsuccessful on 2 different occasions. One was a time limit draw. The other one, they straight up lost to them. But now, as I said before, this is a singles competition setting. But the obvious thing is, will Amisori's strength be the X factor on this one, or Azuki's experience will play out? Well, she did when she applied the Brain Buster to pick up the win. This is her first win in the 5-star Grand Prix. But the obvious thing is, can she catch up, or or she's completely out of it? We just don't know yet. We'll just see as further along as we progress in the 5-star Grand Prix. Now, our main event, the 2 leaders of 2 different units, Natsuko Tora from Oedo Tai, taking on the leader of Stars and the icon of Stardom, Mayu Iwatani. Now, if you guys know, this is not the first time these two have faced off each other, either in singles or in tag team setting. Basically, in this case, Natsuko Tora has been on a tear to win the tournament. But of course, like always, we're gonna see some cheat coming from her to pick up the win. Not to mention, she actually missed Mayu and then of course applied the Swanton Bomb to pick up the win. However, she's saying that even if she defeated Mayu, that's not the case. Now, why is that? Let's talk about that a little bit. We all know that Mayu Iwatani is the current IWGP Women's Champion, but it seems that Natsuko Tora has no intentions to precede that belt. But she did stated in her post-match comment that she has 2 targets in mind. And this one is very interesting. Those targets, it's none other than our current red belt champion, Tam Nakano, and of course her friend and team member of Cosmic Angels, Natsupoi. Now, why would she target those 2? Simple as that. She knows that if she beats Tam Nakano, she gets an opportunity to challenge for the red belt. And as for Natsupoi, well, Natsupoi, on the other hand, she is currently undefeated. However, now some of you may question, why is that a problem for Natsuko Tora? Well, it's a threat to her. You see, she feels that now that she defeated Mayu Iwatani, she is the strongest. not only that, here's the thing. She not only defeated the leader of Stars, she defeated the leader of God's Eye. So she feels she is the strongest, and I will not. And she feels she cannot tolerate someone else being strong. So we'll see what happens. But as we speak, that match between Tam and Natsuko Tora for the 5-star Grand Prix, it is happening as we speak. But I don't know how this is gonna go out. If Natsuko Tora is successful in defeating Tam, then she could get a possible opportunity of the red belt. But we'll just wait and see until I review that. But I think right now we're done. Now, let me review a bit of the point systems that these two matches received. Zuki received 2 points on this one, so she only has that. As for Amisuri, only 4 points. Natsuko Tora is currently right now in the lead in the Red Star block with 8 points. Tam Nakano with 5. So we'll see how this progresses. So I think we are now in the halfway mark of this tournament, but we'll see how we progress from there. I think that's pretty much it. So let's move on with AEW Rampage. Okay, AEW Rampage. So let's get started. It opened up with the AEW International Championship. Orange Cassidy, as you know, has been a fighting champion, currently undefeated in defending this title, but this time he faces against one of QTV's uh, lackeys, or should I say, one of the idiots, Aaron Solo. But of course, she's been accompanied by the one person who claims she is the best singer in the world, Harley Cameron. But however, there was a great moment I did like. Aaron Solo, being a coward that he is, used Harley Cameron as a shield in hopes that Orange Cassidy can do nothing. But of course, Harley Cameron's like, "What you gonna do about it?" You know what he did? Well, he gave his little kicks, not the hard kicks, the soft kicks. Like, oh, she was like, "Being, stop it!" And of course, it was driving her nuts. And of course, Aaron Solo almost got away with it, but however, Solo almost on friendly fire on Harley Cameron, and of course Harley was so pissed that she can't believe that Aaron Solo almost was on the verge of hurting her, but luckily, Orange Cassidy, in the other hand, was able to take him out. But however, the one thing that was really interesting, Orange Cassidy has been unable to be successful since hurting his hand to do the orange punch. So he started to realize that maybe the orange punch isn't effective as it used to be. So the only effective thing he had to use was the beach break, and that's how he retained his title. Now, JR has conducted an interview with QT Marshall. Now, if you guys have been aware or not, QT Marshall is the new AAA Latin American champion. He defeated Penta El Cero Miedo for this match, for this belt. However, now he's claiming that he is the best wrestler in the world. He felt that people are not showing him respect despite the fact of everything. So now he feels that he should earn the respect winning this belt. But he has to defend that belt against Gravity. So the title was on the line. Of course, QT Marshall was going to do stupid things. And not to mention, of course, Johnny TV was there by his side as always. So you probably would have thought that Gravity had who was going to win this one, but no. QT was able to pick up the win when he first did the Diamond Cutter and then did in a somewhat of a suplex power bomb onto Gravity to retain the title. And he goes out to say he's the best wrestler in the world, but sooner or later he may have to lose that belt. Next up, you can call this a squash match if you like. This is Luchasaurus versus Ren Jones. If you're unfamiliar with Ren Jones, he is a wrestler from the Independents. Normally, you would see him with AAW. Haven't talked about them for a while, but anyway, he put him through a chokeslam. But of course, we all do recognize that he is the TNT champion. But however, Christian Cage likes to say that he is the actual champion, and of course he was watching on. So we'll see what happens. Now, our main event is a preview match to what's lead to the fatal four-way match for the AEW Women's title. We have, of course, team number one, the Outcast, Saray, Saray and Tony Storm, taking on Britt Baker and our current champion, Hikaru Shida. Now, of course, we have seen the rivalry between both sides. The Outcasts, who declared war against the AEW originals, such as Shida and Britt Baker, has continued on. But however, Tony Storm has not been the same since losing the AEW Women's Championship. But the obvious thing is, of course, later on we did saw Ruby Zo getting herself involved. But luckily, Chris Statlander, who she called out during Dynamite, appeared and carried her out. So basically, the Outcast has lost their meal ticket to win the match. But however, that wasn't enough until we saw Tony Storm used the spray can onto the eyes of Shida, and Shida misfired on Britt Baker, allowing for Tony Storm to pick up the win. So the obvious thing now that Tony Schiavone does tell, if it comes to both Saray and Tony Storm, one of them has to walk out. So that's gonna be an interesting. I'm sure Britt Baker and Shida has no problem with each other because if you guys remember history all too well, it was Britt Baker who defeated Shida for the belt when she became back in Double or Nothing 2021. So that's something we have seen before. So we'll see what happens until then. I think that's pretty much it for AEW Rampage. So let's continue on with our last and final review, NXT Level Up. Okay, so who levels up on this latest episode of NXT Level Up? Let's find out. Our first match is tag team action. We have Tank Ledger, and Hank Walker taking on Tariq Igwe and Tyson DuPont. Now, in recent months, we have seen how Ledger and Walker have been as a steady uh, tag team, but we have seen them face off each other before that made them a very strong, suitable tag team. Now we know they have been seeing each other in NXT Level Up a lot, but we have seen them in NXT before. But it's only a matter of time until those two get an opportunity for the NXT tag team titles. But however, they have to go against Igwe and DuPont, and I have to say it was a pretty good match to see. The teamwork between Ledger and Walker is amazing. They were able to double team on Igwe and put him away, and Walker picking up the win by pinning him 1, 2, 3, just like that. Now, before our next match that leads to this, our interview with Mackenzie, they introduce a brand new wrestler named Kai. What's her name? Kia Saint, who is new into the roster. Her first opponent is none other than Kiana James. However, a little bit of her background, she has a bit like a gymnastics and a jumping something, I don't know. But it was very impressive. Now, her match with Kiana James, you can say she was very impressive with what she can do. But however, the experience of Kiana James is the X factor of this match. As you know, Kiana James has not been in a good mood recently because she was dealing with Gigi Dolan, and not to mention she's now in the war to try to obtain the NXT Women's title from Tiffany Stratton. So that kind of puts her in the mood. But however, she did pick up the win with the 4-1K onto Saint. But however, she did apply like another move that this time put her down for good measure. Now, our main event, we have Dante Chen taking on Scripps. Now, Scripps did not come alone, if you guys need to know. He did have, what's his name, Lucian Price and Bronco Lima by his side. Ever since they aligned themselves with him, they became an X factor on this. But of course, like always, I knew that they were going to cause a problem. One was going to interfere. One was going to was distracting the ref. That played out, but it did allow for an acrobatic cutter by Scripps to put away Dante Chen. So the obvious thing is now that this alliance between Scripps and these two, and Lima and Price, is effective now, we'll see how this one rolls out from there on. I think that's pretty much it what we have for NXT Level Up. Let's move on with news updates. All right, so welcome to our news update. So let's get started to what we know. Now, this was reported on Twitter by Scott Edwards from Fightful Select Voices Wrestling. As you know, he's been the guy who's been reporting what's been going on in the Joshi world. If you guys have been aware recently for a while, there's been the talks about the New York Joshi promotion that will be coming out soon. However, this is what he reported. The first show will begin on September 21st in Manhattan. Now, this is an interesting thing. This show will happen the day after AEW Grand Slam. So that's going to be interesting. But according to what he announced, there'll be a number of announcements next week related to the debut. But of course, it's been said that Tomoka Inaba, Risa Sera, Arisa Nakajima, and Bull Nakano are attached to the show. So we may be seeing them. There's still more information that we probably don't know yet, but I'm sure from this, for next week, we'll find out. Now, for our Ice Ribbon, we had the latest event in Corkin Hall, Ice in Wonderland. First things first, we want to congratulate our brand new champions that took place. Our first one is for the Ice Ribbon International Tag Team Championships. There was a three-way match that took place. The challengers, of course, team number one is Yappy and Akari versus from just Tap Out GTO, Sumika Yanagawa and Misa Kagura. They face against the champions Makoto and Hamuko Hoshi. However, this match falls into GTO, so that means Misa and Sumika are now our brand new international ribbon tag team champions. Now, on a note here, this is their first championships they ever win. They haven't won any championships before. If you guys remember clearly, she was had a jealousy knowing that her friend Yuri and Amchan were champions. But however, because of what I said about Yuri, unfortunately Yuri had lost the belt, but this time too, Ice Ribbon's very homegrown girl, Ibuki Hoshi. Yes, that's right, Ibuki Hoshi, who is 20 years old. She actually won this match, and this is something she has always longed and desired. As you know, her mother was the former tag team champion, now Hamuko Hoshi. And of course, this is a great moment for Ibuki. This is her first singles run that she's ever done. She has been tag team champion before, 3 times. 1 time with her mom, 2 times with our current AEW Women's Champion Hikaru Shida. But Ibuki knows this, how much this means to a lot to her. But the one person who gave her so much love for winning this match is none other than our Ice Ribbon's ace, Tsukasa Fujimoto. The reason I say this is because Fujimoto has known Ibuki when she was a little girl. And here's a little fun note here. When after Fujimoto gave birth to her child, she often talked about how she remembered teaching her how to ride a bike. And of course, she tells her, "Now teach my child how to ride a bike." And of course, Ibuki said, "I'm looking forward to it." So basically, it's more like a family, like a tradition now. But it's great that she is now being recognized, and I can't wait to see what Ibuki Hoshi's gonna do. Now, not only in the Ice Ribbon promotion, there's been a title change, also in SEAdLINNNG as well. Saray, or as we know her as Sari, has won the Beyond the Sea Championship during a SEAdLINNNG event, and she defeated Arisa Nakajima. So that's a very great thing, winning her first championship since returning to Japan. So I think that's going to be a great thing. I don't know if this had anything to do due to the fact that Arisa Nakajima will be involved in the New York Joshi promotion? Well, we just don't know yet on that part, but hopefully those answers can be told. Now, updates on the Carolina Classics by Deadlock Pro Wrestling. There's two matches that have been announced for the final qualifying match. The first one is going to feature Mike Bailey and Andrew Everett, and the second, Malachi Black and the debut of Ichiban. So that's going to be great. Now, as you know, in House of Glory, the main event are our brand new House of Glory Tag Team Champions. However, they're going to be defending the tag titles on the next show, Fallout, in September, against the Vaudu Villains, consisting of Simon Gotch and Matthew Renwald. Yep, so that's going to be interesting to see. Now, updates for the West Coast Pro Show from the West Coast with Love that takes place on the 10th of September. The women's title will be defended. Our brand new champion, Takumi Iroha, will be defending the belt against Johnny Robbie. Now, this came across right after Takumi defeated what's her name, Masha Slamovich, and Johnny Robbie issued a challenge. Anyway, so that's what is gonna happen. Now, I don't know if you guys are keeping aware of what's been going on, mostly in the Japanese wrestling ring. Genichiro Tenryu once again ended up admitted to the hospital. The reasons behind that is because this happened about a month and a half ago. He was there due to shock treatment. But however, the symptoms were being aware now, so that's why he got reanimated to the hospital. But however, it's a not non-life-threatening thing. But however, he is conscious and able to talk, so that is a definite plus. So hopefully things can be uh, taken care of in his health. I hate to see another Japanese wrestling legend to pass away. So let's just give him our prayers. Now, as you know, in recent time, Yoshi Promotion World Woman Pro Wrestling Diana hasn't been allowing wrestlers from Stardom coming to their shows for their version of New Blood, but they're calling Future Sight. Amongst them is Waka Tsukiyama. Waka teamed up with, of course, with the champion Haruka Umesaki to take on Nanami and Rina Amikura. However, that match landed with Waka and Umesaki pick up the win. However, the interesting thing that took place was during the post-match comments. Now, let me pull up what is going on here. This is going to be interesting for everybody. Here it is. This is what Umesaki said. Please convey my regards to the leader of the team, Mina Shirakawa. Waka replied, could it be that you aspire to join Club Venus? Umesaki replied, I do not aspire to do so. Waka goes on, a candidate has appeared, everyone. Everyone. And of course, Umesaki replied, no, I can't speak English at all. Waka goes out, no, it's not all about whether you can speak English or not. The important thing is whether your feelings are Venus or not. Now, basically, if you guys remember clearly, last year, there was a bit of a beef between both Umesaki and Mina during a battle royale, and of course, there was the moment during when Unagi and Mina went to challenge for the tag titles that at the time Umesaki had with Miyuki Takase, but eventually that match ended in a double countout, and of course, all Unagi and Mina teamed up with her at New Blood, so that kind of set the whole thing. But however, of course, uh, basically they go back and forth. But I don't think Umesaki has any intentions in joining Club Venus, despite the fact that there are only three members of Club Venus currently around, while the rest went back to their respected homes. Now, finally, this one is a very interesting one. This one was from what Tony Khan said to a Hollywood Reporter, and I was a bit of not surprised, but more like, holy shit, pardon my language. This is what he said to the Hollywood Reporter. If for some reason you couldn't book an upcoming show, who would you trust to put together that show? And this is what he said. He hasn't been around as much lately because he's been recovering from injury. But I got hit by if I got hit by a bus or if I was ever in incapacitated for some reason, the person I told my father that it should turn to is Bryan Danielson. Wow, that's interesting. Now we do know that Bryan Danielson was behind one of produced one show recently. If you guys remember when AEW were here in my hometown of San Diego for Rampage, he actually produced a Friday Championship where all the titles were defended. Of course, we had um, the Pure Championship title, the New Japan Strong Women's title, and I forgot what other ones. Oh yeah, the IWGP World Television title. I forgot what was the other one as well, but it makes perfect sense about that. So I think it's interesting to hear that Tony Khan said that if something happened to him, if he can't produce a show, book it, he will entrust Bryan Danielson to do so. So that is a very interesting thing to hear. So let's just hope things like that don't happen. But I can say that Rampage for me on that particular day that Bryan Danielson produced was the best Rampage I've ever witnessed. I did stated this before. I felt that Rampage was a pretty awesome show, but however, when we had Dynamite, it wasn't like a bad or a good show. It was more of a solid show, to be honest. But the Rampage, awesome. So I think that's how I feel about it. And I think that's pretty much it. So let's just right now call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, we have more on Choco Pro. This one's a very special one where, of course, the fourth generation girls will be taking the stage. Those who don't know, certain wrestlers were part of a line of girls that were since joining, but that's going to be interesting to watch. And of course, we do have AEW Collision taking place soon enough. But don't forget, the following day we do have AEW All In at Wembley Stadium, where I cannot wait to see happen. Now I haven't decided yet when I'm going to watch because, however, I may be a little behind on the GCW stuff, but we'll see how that grows. But however, the reason that right now thing is, I'm gonna go right this coming Saturday. By the time this video is out, it's already out. I'm gonna go see Blue Beetle. So that kind of got in the way, but we'll see how it rolls out. But for now, I will see you guys on the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.